Hello, welcome to another Becoming a Modern Man. We are playing Grixis once again, and our opponent is on blue-green Infect, so let's see if we can get in the way with this one. We'll be able to get up our opening hand. So here's our opener. We've got a couple of fetches, an island, Thoughtscour, Tasigur, Terminate and Snapcaster Mage. Seems like a pretty decent hand, particularly going in blind. Going to be able to get a turn 2 Tasigur out with this Thoughtscour and this fetch land combination, which is always good. So end of turn we're probably playing on Thoughtscouring, and then be able to get this Tasigur out on turn 2, which is very nice. Obviously we've got some removal, we've got Snapcaster Mage, so we've got stuff to do, so this looks like a good hand for us, and we're going to be able to get all our colours thanks to these fetches. That leaves a Taxing Probe into a Windswept Heath, which finds him a Breeding Pool, which he then casts a Noble Hierarch off. So I've got him down on Infect at this point. Knowing Modern, that combination of cards, it seems very likely that he's on Infect. Don't see a lot of Bant decks in general. If he is on Bant, it would be very strange for him to be running Gitaxian Probe. So yeah, I'm fairly confident that he's on Infect just from. We draw a Young Pyromancer, which is somewhat good, I suppose, but I don't think we actually get a lot of use out of it in this game. I'm just going to leave the Scalding Tarn, plan to fetch up a Watery Grave end of turn and then Thoughtscour. I'll put another Hierarch, and he's going to attack me for 2 against the double Exalted triggers, which is entirely fine. I am going to scratch this Snapcaster and an island into the graveyard. We draw a Serum Visions, and we draw a Snapcaster off the Thoughtscour. I'm going to play this second fetch up a Steam Vents because we need access to red. Cast my Tasigur for 1. I probably should have done thinking about it. I think the reason I kept it was so I could have something to cast for 1 mana with my Young Pyromancer, so in theory next turn I could play Young Pyromancer and then Serum Visions, get a token, which would be nice, but it doesn't work out that way, and thinking about the way this game was likely to turn out, I probably should have cast the Serum Visions. So opponent plays Inkmoth Nexus, which has us a little worried, obviously, because potentially it can kill us. We draw Mana Leak, which is not a bad draw. Obviously we can potentially counter a Pump Spell, which would be nice. Maybe it might just be able to make us able to terminate his Inkmoth Nexus. Got to be aware that he knows we have Terminate, so thanks to the turn 1 Gitaxian Probe, so got to be conscious of that. I'm going to get in with Tasigur. I need to put pressure on our opponent, and I don't think he's going to be beating us down with Noble Hierarchs, even if we are only at 12 at this point, but doesn't seem likely that that's the way this is going to go. Serum Vision's drawing a second Young Pyromancer, which is fairly useless. We see Delver and Thoughtscour, which are both fairly good cards, but I think under the circumstances what I want to see is removal, and I think I decided to do bottom both of these. Equally, more lands would be reasonable. We can maybe cast Young Pyromancer on the Terminate. We can have Terminate and Mana Leak up together, which is kind of the ideal situation that we're going for. So our opponent activates Inkmoth, plays a Distortion Strike, and the Mutagen. He's going to attack, get double Exalted triggers, so he's going to go up to 6 power. Obviously I want to terminate, but to me this little setup with the Hierarch and the Breeding Pool is a bit of a telegraph of a Vines of Vastwood coming. So if I terminate here, he casts Vines of Vastwood, which is exactly enough to kill us. So I don't want to do that. so I'm just going to let him hit me for 6. It's obviously not ideal, but if I cast Terminate and he casts Vine of Vastwood, I'm just dead. Whereas if I take 6 here, it's possible we can draw a land and have Terminate and Mana Leak up, or maybe we can just get into a situation where we win. For example, actually on the end of turn I want to just drop this Snapcaster into play. Then I've got 6 power, he's only on 8, and it might be a situation maybe if we draw a Bolt or something that we can turn that into a winning situation. So yeah, just going to drop the Snapcaster in, just to add extra power to the board. Hopefully it'll also tempt him to block with one of his Hierarchs, which reduces the amount of mana he has available. Draw land thanks to bottoming with the Serum Visions, which I think was definitely a good idea, because now we can Terminate with Mana Leak backup, which is very relevant, as I think he has Vines of Vastwood in hand. So going to attack with both our guys. Obviously he doesn't want to just lose to a Lightning Bolt, so he's going to chump block here, chump block the Tasigur here, which is good for us. It's going to reduce the amount of mana he's got available, reducing the outs he has to me trying to Terminate his guy. Strike rebounds and on his upkeep, I believe. Yep. So he activates the Incomoth Nexus then, so he can get the pump. He's going to go for the Gitaxian Probe. I'm going to Terminate now, just because I don't want him to draw another potential out. And given he's only got 3 cards at the moment, is it? I think that's the way to go. So I decided to Terminate here. He plays the Vines of Vastwood, so he did have it. So I was definitely right to Terminate the turn prior. I'm going to be able to Mana Leak that. Doesn't leave him with many outs. He could potentially Apostle's Blessing to protect the Inkmoth, but I win either way because then he's tapped out, passes the turn to me on 2 life, and I'm just going to be able to kill him. I'm going to be able to kill him either way really, so this is the crucial turn. But yeah, so yeah, opponent concedes to the Mana Leak on the Vines of Vastwood, which is perfect. So yeah, that worked out pretty well, and all kind of came down to that crucial turn where I decided not to Terminate our opponent's Incomoth Nexus, as we would have lost to that Vines of Vastwood, and as it turned out we drew the extra land and managed to turn the situation around, so just to pick up the win in that game. Let's see, we can go to game 2. So game 2, I'm bringing some things from the sideboard, Dispel being one of them. Obviously very useful at countering pump spells. Put these off for the Wooded Foothills. Gitaxian Probes me. He fetches the forest with his Wooded Foothills and gets a Glistener Elf into play, which isn't really something we want to see given that we have no removal in hand. But we do have some counters which could slow him down, and hopefully we'll find some removal along the way. Spell Piercer again comes in. This is the guy that I'm running in my sideboard. It wasn't in the original list sideboard, but I prefer it to the Flash Freeze, I think, which was being played. If you check out the article, you can see the original list that I was working off. One plays Dryad Arbor and then attacks with a Glistener Elf. Growth. I decided to Spell Pierce that. That might not have been the right thing to do. Maybe should have held on to the Spell Pierce, but I just think potentially with all the cheap spells he's got, that this might be one of the best times for Spell Pierce. So decided to just counter that to the extra 2 damage. Play my Darkslick Shores. I'm going to use my Gitaxian Probe. See his hand. Skipped it there, but I ended up drawing another Gitaxian Probe, so we'll be able to see it here. So he's got double Become Immense, which is ever so slightly scary. Apostle's Blessing and the Vines of Vastwood. So 2 ways to protect his guys, and then 2 fairly huge pump spells. But the fact that he's got double Become Immense is fairly redundant for him. He's probably only ever going to be able to cast 1, because his graveyard isn't going to be that big. So definitely got that on our side. That's his hand. We draw another Gitaxian Probe. My only real concern at this point is that there might be a situation in where he can pump up his Dryad Arbor to become lethal, which is certainly concerning, which I think is why I don't Gitaxian Probe. But thinking about it more, I think I probably should have just gone for it, because he's not going to be able to double Become Immense, at least not easily anyway. But yeah, that in mind, I think I don't bother casting this a third Gitaxian Probe I draw into. I'm going to use this Lightning Bolt that I found though to kill off his Glistener Elf. It's the only Infect creature he's got, so I think it's worth getting rid of. Now, we've got the spell up, so we can counter either of the ways he's got to protect his guy, so I want to do that now before he draws any more mana. And he chooses not to fight over that, so that's certainly good for us. I think just passed the turn. Probably should have played the second Gitaxian Probe. It's probably a little conservative. I was just a little bit concerned about my life total, but maybe that wasn't something I should have been too bothered about. But probably planning to Thought Scour end of turn anyway. That's for 1, puts it down to 13. I Thought Scour, Rakdos Charm and Steam Vents going to the graveyard. Rakdos Charm, another card coming out of the sideboard, primarily for the Destroy Target Artifact ability, which can blow up Inkmoth Nexus. You might be running some of the other Artifact Infect creatures as well, such as Necropede and Ichthyormir, so I thought that was potentially decent. Not amazing obviously, but it does a few things, and thought it was worthwhile bringing in from the board. So yeah, we draw Scalding Tarn, which isn't too exciting. We can draw this Delver, so we're going to play that and Dispel. So not too worried. Couldn't play the Noble Hierarch. I could have remanded that, but I feel like we should save the remands for something which would be a massive pain for me to remand that, as it would clear out his graveyard and make it very difficult to recast that particular spell. So reasonably happy with that. Obviously he's going to be attacking for 2 now, which isn't ideal, but willing to run with it. I'm going to crack my fetch because I want to see what I reveal off Delver first. If you put a stop on your upkeep, you can crack your fetch after seeing what the Delver reveals, if you don't want to draw whatever it is. Turns out it's a Murderous Cut, which is actually fairly good, and we're actually going to be able to flip as well off of that. So I'm going to get in for 3. Finally use my other Gitaxian Probe. I probably should have done that earlier, to be honest, but never mind. We probably don't really need to look at our graveyard at this moment in time, really. Got plenty of cards in it though. Drawing the land, which I'm just going to put into play tapped because I don't particularly need it, and again I was a little concerned that you might be able to do something kill me with some combination of Dryad Arbor and Become Immense. So I go for the Murderous Cut on his Dryad Arbor, so he's not sort of racing me, as it were. He goes for the Vines of Vastwood to protect it, and I'm going to dispel that. Could have remanded it instead, but actually probably would have been better off remanding it, to be honest. Could have drawn an extra card there, but went for the Dispel. I suppose it's in the graveyard now, so we can Snapcast the Dispel, which is pretty good. But let me know if you have any opinions on which order I should have done that in. I'm going to continue attacking for 3, put our opponent down to 9. Opponent's tapped out. Cards are, he's got double Become Immense and an Apostle's Blessing. And maybe one other card. I'm not sure I know what his other card is. But yeah, basically he hasn't got any other creatures. He's very low on mana. Fetched up that forest to begin with, and actually hasn't played another land since. So I decided to just, on my turn, while he's tapped out, play the Snapcaster and bolt his Noble Hierarch. leaves him in a very difficult position. If he doesn't draw a land, then he's not able to do much, but he absolutely needs to draw an Infect creature or something, so he could draw an Inkomoth Nexus, I suppose, which would be a reasonable live draw. He could draw a Glistener Elf, but either way I feel like that's going to be too slow, and I think this is a reasonable play. We could have saved it, we could have just left our Snapcaster up, and we could have Snapcaster Dispel, Snapcaster Bolt available to us, and we could have just ran out the second Delver. Either way, I think we probably had this one in a really good position. He's got a lot of cards that don't do a whole lot in his hand at the moment, and no Infect creature or anything to actually threaten us. So yeah, I go for the kill on the Noble Hierarch, and our opponent concedes to that because he doesn't see a way out, and yeah, I don't think he has actually too many outs, particularly on 9 life. So yeah, we managed to wrap that one up, and yeah, this went pretty well. I think in general this matchup seems decent. We've got some good sideboard cards against Infect, and in general we've got some very good removal, so it seems like a reasonable matchup for us.